Hello and welcome to Curious Austrian Tours. Now before we continue, why don't you click on the like button or subscribe? That would be highly appreciated. Pet Cemetery. No, not that one, although I really like that film. Now, it is about Pet Cemetery, a secret one, or probably not so secret anymore. I'll let you decide. Cherry? Who is Cherry? A cherry? Cherry what? Nestled within the bushes of Victoria Gate's large garden is the secret pet cemetery of Hyde Park. Yes, Hyde Park. This little graveyard was the first of its kind in Britain and dates all the way back to the 1880s. Dogs, cats, birds, even monkeys were laid to rest here. It is thought that you can also find a grave dedicated to a cat who is said to have died at the old age of 38. When the pet cemetery closed in 1903, there were over 300 tiny tombstones or gravestones in the garden, and they're still standing today. Legend has it that some of the last burials actually took place as late as the 1950s. The tale of how it came to be is also quite fascinating. Back in the day, a gatekeeper named Mr. Winbridge allowed some of his friends, a gent named J. Lewis Barnum and his family, who were frequent visitors at Hyde Park, to bury their beloved Maltese terrier Cherry in the garden. And this was just the beginning. Several Londoners caught wind of the burial and travelled far and wide to give their pets the send-off they genuinely deserved. It eventually became the unofficial graveyard for pets, with Mr. Winbridge dedicating more and more land to this cause. For this Victoria Lodge gatekeeper, it was undoubtedly the start of a lucrative little side business. Most of the miniature headstones crammed into the fenced-off space are of a similar design. A handful of particularly pampered pets bluster with their own human-sized gravestones. Could Mr. Winbridge have offered mourners an all-in-one burial spot, or rather a headstone package? You might well assume that, in quotation marks, our friend Sir Isaac lived a life more fortunate than the average Victorian might have enjoyed back in those poverty-stricken days. Maybe that's why George Orwell called this place, quote, perhaps the most horrible spectacle in London. Rumour has it that the cemetery is haunted by the spirits of the animals, many of which suffered exceptionally tragic deaths. In fact, several dogs were trampled to death by the horses that used the park's carriageways, and a few were even killed. One of the gravestones reads, quote, remembering Fritz and Baloo, poisoned by a cruel Swiss. Haunted or not, the pet cemetery is in fact very charming and peaceful. If you are courageous enough to venture inside, you'll come across dozens of sentimental messages engraved on the gravestones, such as, quote, alas, poor Zoe, or, quote, darling doll, my sunbeam, my consolation, my joy. And you may also spot some interesting pet names such as Boogie and even Scum. And though one can be certain that the title, quote, King of Pussies was meant in good faith, it very likely hasn't aged well. Each to their own, I assume. No longer an active cemetery, it can only be visited by request. It is to be made at least 1 week in advance, and it is to be made to the royal parks who manage Hyde Park, including this little enchantingly beautiful pet cemetery. Alright, that's all for today now. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I look forward to welcoming you back again. Cheerio!